Have you ever had that moment when you look at your life and quietly ask yourself, why am I really here? What is the reason behind all of this? We chase so many things trying to fill that question with an answer. Some of us run after wealth, thinking that more money will make life meaningful. Others search for purpose in relationships, hoping that being loved will complete them. Some chase status, recognition, or achievements, believing that success will silence that emptiness inside. And yes, these things may bring moments of happiness, but let's be honest, the joy doesn't last. After every success, there's still a quiet voice inside asking, is this it? Is this really all there is? That's because the deepest purpose of life isn't found in what you own, or what people think of you, or what you manage to achieve. It's found in a place most people overlook. It's found when your forehead touches the ground in sujood. Sujood is not just a movement, it's not just bending the body, it's an act where your heart bows, where your soul finds its place. The world constantly tells us to stand tall, to show strength, to compete. But sujood teaches us something different, that true strength comes when you are willing to humble yourself. In that moment, when your face is on the ground, everything else fades away, the noise of the world disappears. The worries that weigh on you become small. The comparisons, the pressure, the endless race to keep up, all of it stops. For a few seconds, it is just you and the one who created you, and that is where purpose lives. Think about it. When you're in sujood, nothing else matters. Your position, your wealth, your beauty, your success, none of it counts there. The only thing that matters is the sincerity of your heart. You realize then that you are not defined by the labels people give you. You are defined by the quiet moments when no one is watching and you choose to bow anyway. Many people walk through life feeling unseen, unloved, or forgotten. But in sujood you realize you are never invisible. You are known, you are heard, you are valued beyond measure. That awareness fills a void nothing else in this world can, and sujood gives perspective. With your forehead on the ground, you remember where you came from and you remember where you're going. Life feels so long and heavy when you're caught in daily struggles, but sujood reminds you that it's all temporary. The heartbreaks, the failures, the disappointments, they don't define your entire story. They're simply chapters meant to bring you closer to this very moment where you find peace in surrender. Here's the paradox: the lowest physical posture is actually the highest spiritual position. The act of lowering yourself lifts your heart above fear, confusion, and despair. If you've ever felt like your soul was restless even after reaching your goals, sujood is the answer. If you've ever felt lost while the world kept moving around you, sujood is the anchor. If you've ever wondered why your heart aches even in success, sujood is the cure, because purpose is not in the things you collect. Purpose is not in how loud the world applauds for you. Purpose is found in returning your heart to the one who gave it. And there is no moment of return more powerful, more intimate, more meaningful than sujood. Look around and you'll notice that life often feels like a race that never ends. From the time we are children, we are taught to run to compete in school, to get the highest grades, to secure the best job, to earn more than others, to build bigger houses, to achieve what society calls success. And for a while, it feels like that race makes sense. It gives us goals to chase, milestones to hit, applause to collect. But the truth is, even after we cross the finish lines of our goals, we rarely feel at peace. We earn the promotion we dreamed about, yet soon we're restless again. We buy the car or the house we once prayed for, yet after some time we're already looking at the next model, the next upgrade. We achieve recognition, but the applause fades quickly, and suddenly we feel invisible again. It's as if this world has designed a race with no finish line, a treadmill that keeps moving faster the harder we run. And in chasing these things, we exhaust ourselves, not realizing that we're running in circles. Deep inside, every human being has that quiet moment when they pause and ask, is this it? Is this really why I'm here? Just to earn, just to compete, just to collect things that won't last? And that question itself is a sign that our purpose was never meant to be defined by this world's race. Think about it. If life's purpose was only to collect wealth, then why do even the wealthiest people feel emptiness? If purpose was about fame, then why do so many famous faces hide private struggles with loneliness and despair? If purpose was about success, then why do those at the peak often feel unfulfilled, like they've climbed the ladder only to realize it was leaning against the wrong wall? The reason is simple. The heart was not created to find its meaning in competition with others. It was not created to be satisfied by possessions, positions, or praise. The heart was created for something deeper, something lasting. That's why, no matter how much we achieve, we still feel restless until we connect with that deeper purpose. Life starts to make sense not when we run faster in the world's race, but when we step off the track altogether. And where do we step off? In Sujood. Sujood teaches us that real purpose is not about being above others, but about lowering yourself before the one who gave you life. The race of this world is about proving your worth to people. Sujood is about realizing your worth was already given to you by your Creator. The race is about competing for more. Sujood is about being content with less because you know where true richness comes from. The race is about comparison. Sujood is about connection. When your forehead touches the ground, all the illusions of the race fade away. Titles, bank balances, followers, achievements, none of them matter in that moment. The world may define you by what you've earned, but in Sujood you are defined by your sincerity. The world may measure you by what's in your hand, but in Sujood you are measured by what's in your heart. And isn't that freeing? To know that your life's purpose doesn't depend on keeping up with others. To know that you don't have to prove yourself through endless competitions. Sujood reminds us that purpose was never about running faster. It was about slowing down, it was about bowing down, it was about aligning your heart with the one who made it. This is why people who live with Sujood at the center of their lives often radiate a peace that confuses others. From the outside, they may not have the biggest house, the most followers, or the highest salary, but inside they walk with a calmness the world can't give and the world can't take away. They've stepped off the race, and in doing so, they've discovered something priceless. That life's purpose is not found in winning the world, but in returning to the one who gave it. From the outside, Sujood may look like a simple physical act, bending down, placing the forehead on the ground, rising again. To an observer, it can appear like nothing more than a ritual, a routine repeated daily. But to the one who experiences it with a conscious heart, Sujood is far more than movement. It is surrender. It is the moment when your body, your heart, and your soul come together in complete humility. We live in a world that constantly tells us to stand tall, to show our power, to never bow before anyone. Success is often measured by how confident, proud, and independent we appear. Yet Sujood flips that idea upside down. It teaches us that the truest form of strength doesn't come from standing taller than others. It comes from willingly lowering yourself in front of the one who gave you life. Think about the posture of Sujood. Your forehead, the most honored and visible part of your body, touches the ground. The same head you hold high in society, the same face you protect and present with dignity, you place it down in the lowest position. That act alone is powerful. It's a reminder that no matter how high we rise in this world, our true place of peace is in humility. But the beauty of Sujood is that while your body lowers, your spirit rises. The world sees weakness in bowing down, but in reality, it's in that position you are strongest. Because Sujood is the moment you let go of control. You release the burdens you've been carrying on your shoulders. You admit that you don't have all the answers, that you're not as self-sufficient as society wants you to believe, and in letting go, you find peace. There is an incredible freedom in surrender. Think about how exhausting it is to constantly pretend you're in control, to act like you can manage everything on your own, to keep carrying weights you were never meant to hold. In Sujood, you are finally able to set those weights down. The ground becomes the place where you pour out your fears, your grief, your hopes, and your gratitude. And isn't it amazing that the same act that looks so simple can contain so much? Your forehead touching the earth connects you to your beginning, a reminder that you were created from dust. It grounds you in humility, reminding you that life is fragile, temporary, and fleeting, but at the same time, that very position elevates you spiritually. You lower yourself not to lose dignity, but to find it in its purest form. Sujood also strips away illusions. When you bow, there are no titles, no wealth, no comparisons. The clothes you wear, the job you have, the status you hold, none of that matters in that moment. Sujood equalizes everyone. The billionaire and the laborer, the educated and the uneducated, the strong and the weak, all are the same when their foreheads touch the ground. It's a surrender that erases pride and reminds you of what truly matters. And here's something deeply human about sujood. It is a safe place to be vulnerable. In a world that often demands we keep our emotions hidden, sujood invites you to let it all out, to cry if you need to whisper your fears, your failures, your longings, to admit that you are not perfect, that you are not unshakable. Sujood welcomes the raw, unfiltered version of you that you may hide from everyone else. So yes, sujood is a movement, but it is never just a movement. It is a doorway into surrender, into peace, into clarity. It is the moment when lowering yourself becomes the path to being lifted higher than you ever imagined. Life is loud. From the moment we wake up, the noise begins. Notifications buzzing, emails waiting, responsibilities pulling, people demanding. Even when it's quiet on the outside, our minds are often noisy on the inside, racing with thoughts, worries, and endless to-do lists. It feels as if the world is constantly shouting at us, do more, be more, prove yourself, keep running, and that noise is exhausting. It drowns out our peace, it confuses our priorities, and it leaves us restless no matter how much we accomplish. But there is one place where the noise begins to fade, and that is in sujood. When you enter sujood, the world's voices are silenced. The demands of society, the pressure to fit in, the comparisons that eat away at yourself, worth all of it, pauses for that sacred moment. It's like stepping out of a storm and into a shelter. The chaos doesn't disappear completely, but it no longer has power over you. For those seconds, it's just you, your heart, and the silence that comes from being exactly where you're meant to be. Sujood is a sanctuary from the constant pressure to perform. Out there, people might judge you for what you wear, what you earn, how you look, or how successful you are. But in sujood, none of those measures matter. The world defines you by what you've achieved. Sujood defines you by your sincerity. The world values what you show on the outside. Sujood treasures what lives inside your heart. And here's the truth, so many of us are carrying noise we don't even realize. The words someone spoke years ago still echoing in our minds, the fear of failure, the comparisons with others, the guilt of mistakes we can't forget. These are all forms of noise constantly playing in the background of our lives. Sujood becomes the place where you set that down. With your forehead to the ground, you can finally breathe. You can finally let go. Have you ever noticed how, after a sincere sujood, your heart feels lighter? It's not because your problems vanish, they're still there, but it's because for a few moments you were free from the noise surrounding them. You were reminded that life is bigger than your worries, and that peace is still possible even when circumstances remain the same. The world tells us that peace is found in vacations, in money, in accomplishments. But sujood shows us that peace is found in stillness, in surrender. When the world shouts for more, sujood whispers that you are already enough when you bow sincerely. And there's something else in sujood. You learn to listen, not to the noise of society, not to the opinions of others, but to the voice inside your soul. It's in that silence that your heart speaks the loudest. You realize what truly matters, what's worth holding on to, and what you need to let go of. Sujood clears away the noise so you can finally hear the truth. Think about how healing that is. All day, the world pushes us to compete, to compare, to constantly chase. And then sujood pulls us back into stillness. It reminds us that we don't have to live by the world's noise. We can choose to live by peace instead. That's why sujood is more than a ritual. It's a refuge. It's a reminder that no matter how chaotic life gets, there is always a place of silence waiting for you, a place where the world cannot reach you, where the noise cannot touch you, and where your heart can rest. One of the deepest aches a human heart can feel is the sense of being unseen. We live in a world that often values the loud, the successful, the glamorous. If you're quiet, struggling, or simply walking your own humble path, it can feel as though no one notices. And sometimes, that invisibility weighs heavier than any physical burden. People may overlook you, They may forget your efforts, dismiss your pain, or fail to recognize the battles you're fighting silently. You might pour your energy into caring for others only to feel unappreciated. You might work hard in your studies, your job, or your home, and yet the recognition never comes. Slowly, you begin to wonder, does anyone really see me? Does anyone really care? And that's where sujood transforms everything. When you bow your head to the ground, you realize you were never invisible. Every tear you held back, every late night of worry, every silent sacrifice you made, it was never wasted. In sujood, you feel the assurance that you are fully seen, fully known, and fully valued, not for what the world applauds, but for the sincerity of your heart. Think about it. People around us only see fragments of who we are. They see the smile we put on, the version of ourselves we carefully present, but they don't always see the struggles behind the smile, the doubts behind the confidence, the exhaustion behind the effort. Sujood is where all of that is laid bare. It's where you don't have to pretend, you don't have to impress, you don't have to hide. You are seen for who you truly are, and that is enough. There is something deeply healing about being acknowledged in a world that makes you feel small. Sujood gives you that acknowledgement in the most profound way. It whispers to your soul, you are not forgotten, you are not unseen, you matter more than you think. And let's be honest, so much of our hurt in life comes from feeling invisible. A parent who didn't notice our effort, a friend who drifted away, a society that values status more than sincerity. These experiences leave scars, and those scars whisper lies. You don't matter, no one cares, you're alone. But in sujood, those lies are replaced with truth. The truth that your worth doesn't come from people's attention, your value doesn't rise or fall depending on who notices you. The one who created your heart already knows every beat of it, and that is enough to lift you from invisibility into significance. Imagine this, while the world moves on, caught in its distractions, you are in sujood. No one else may know the tears streaming down your face, but they are known. No one else may understand the weight you're carrying, but it is understood. That's the kind of reassurance that can heal the deepest loneliness. This is why sujood is more than just a posture. It's a declaration, I am seen, I am heard, I am not invisible. It's a reminder that even if people overlook your existence, the sincerity of your heart never goes unnoticed. And here's the beauty: once you truly believe that you are never invisible, you begin to live differently. You no longer chase validation from people who may never give it. You no longer measure your worth by likes, comments, or applause. You walk with a quiet confidence, knowing that even in your solitude, you are valued. Sujood fills the empty spaces left by human neglect. It assures you that being unseen by people is never the same as being unseen altogether. In fact, sometimes it is in those moments of being forgotten by the world that you are closest to being remembered in the way that truly matters. So when the weight of invisibility presses on your heart, when you feel like your existence doesn't make a difference, remember this: the ground where you bow is a place where you are fully acknowledged. And that reminder has the power to lift even the heaviest heart. There are moments in life when our own strength feels painfully small. We try everything, we plan, we push, we hustle, we give our all, but still, things slip out of our control. Illness comes, opportunities are lost, people disappoint us, our energy runs dry, and in those moments we are reminded of a truth we often resist. We are not as strong as we like to believe. It's not a weakness to admit this. It's reality. We were never meant to carry the entire weight of life on our shoulders, yet the world constantly tells us, be strong, stand on your own, prove you can handle it all. And so we try, we fight our battles alone until exhaustion breaks us down. That's where sujood comes in, not as an escape from responsibility, but as a reminder that you are connected to a power far greater than yourself. When your forehead touches the ground, you are no longer relying only on your limited strength. You are stepping into a connection that stretches beyond human ability. Suddenly, the burdens that felt unbearable begin to feel lighter, not because they disappeared, but because you are no longer carrying them alone. Think of it like this. Imagine a small child trying to lift a weight far too heavy for them. They strain, they sweat, they push, but the object doesn't budge. Then a strong parent steps in, placing their hands beside the child's. Suddenly, the impossible becomes possible, not because the child got stronger, but because someone greater shared the burden. That's what sujood does for the soul. It takes us out of the illusion that we have to do everything alone. It softens the crushing pressure of independence and reminds us that true strength isn't in self-reliance, but in connection. In sujood, you hand over what feels too heavy, and you receive a peace that doesn't come from your own power. And this changes how you approach life. Suddenly, setbacks don't destroy you because you know you're not facing them by yourself. Disappointments don't define you because your worth isn't tied to other people's approval. Even fear begins to loosen its grip because you realize you're connected to something infinitely greater than anything you fear. In sujood, the walls of limitation crumble, your vision clears. You start to believe again that healing is possible, that change is possible, that strength is possible even if the world tells you otherwise. You are no longer drawing from the small, fragile well of your own willpower. You're connected to an endless source that never runs dry. This is why people who experience deep sujood often come out of it transformed. The situation outside may not have changed, the bills are still due, the illness still lingers, the challenges still stand. But inside something shifts, a calmness settles in, a quiet courage takes root, a resilience forms that no obstacle can easily break. That's the beauty of connecting to a power greater than yourself. It doesn't always change what's around you, but it always changes what's within you. And that change is everything, because life will never stop testing us. There will always be storms, heartbreaks, and uncertainties. If we rely only on our own strength, we will burn out again and again. But when we bow in sujood, we're reminded that strength doesn't come from pretending to be unbreakable. Real strength comes from admitting our weakness and choosing connection instead. So if you're tired, if you're worn out from carrying life's burdens alone, remember this. Sujood is not just an act of devotion, it's a lifeline. It's the place where you reconnect to a power so much greater than yourself, and that connection gives you the courage to keep going when your own strength runs out. We live in a world obsessed with climbing higher. From a young age, we're told to aim for the top of our class, the top of our careers, the top of society's ladder. Everywhere we look, people are striving for recognition, for status, for a sense of being above others. And yet, in all this chasing, many discover that the higher they climb, the emptier they feel. Sujood turns this idea upside down. It whispers a powerful truth. Real elevation doesn't come from standing taller than others, but from lowering yourself in humility. The moment your forehead touches the ground, you are at your lowest physical point, and yet, that's where your soul rises the highest. It's a paradox that confuses the world but heals the heart. Because while society tells us to build our image, sujood teaches us to break our pride. While the world urges us to prove our worth through power, wealth, and influence, sujood reminds us that the greatest worth is found in humility. Think about it, pride is heavy. It demands constant proving, constant defending, constant comparison. You always have to show you're better, smarter, stronger, and deep down it's exhausting. Pride doesn't elevate, it enslaves, but humility frees you. It allows you to stop competing in a race that doesn't end. It allows you to be content with who you are instead of living to impress others. It allows you to admit your flaws without shame, because you understand that being human means being imperfect. Sujood is the training ground for this humility. Every time you bow down, you practice letting go of your ego. You silence the part of yourself that wants to be admired, that craves superiority, that resists surrender. In that act of lowering, you discover a strength far greater than pride could ever give you. And here's the irony: when you learn humility, life actually lifts you. People respect those who carry themselves with grace, not arrogance. Hearts are drawn to those who are sincere, not boastful. True leaders are the ones who serve, not the ones who demand to be served. Humility elevates you in ways pride never can. Sujood is the reminder that the path to greatness is paved with bowing, not boasting. When you are on the ground in humility, you are, in reality, higher than any pedestal this world could place you on. Because you are lifted not by your ego, but by sincerity. There's another beautiful lesson here. In sujood, everyone is equal. The rich and the poor, the powerful and the powerless, the celebrated and the forgotten. When they bow, they are all the same. The ground does not differentiate titles or wealth. It strips away illusions of superiority and reminds us that our true worth is in humility. And isn't that what our hearts long for? To live in a way that's real, that's not weighed down by constant competition. To feel valued not for our possessions, but for our authenticity. Sujood teaches us exactly that. It whispers, you don't have to stand taller to be great. Lower yourself, and you will rise in ways that truly matter. Humility also heals relationships. So many conflicts in our families, friendships, and communities come from pride, the refusal to apologize, the need to always be right, the fear of appearing weak. But when you've tasted the beauty of humility in sujood, you carry it into your relationships. You learn that saying, I'm sorry, doesn't make you small, it makes you strong. You learn that listening is more powerful than dominating. You learn that lowering your ego is often the very thing that elevates love, trust, and connection. This is why sujood isn't just an act of worship. It's a school of the soul. Each bow teaches you to let go of pride, and in doing so, it teaches you how to truly rise. Because real elevation doesn't come from the world's applause, it comes from the quiet dignity of humility. So every time you place your forehead on the ground, remember this, you are not lowering yourself to lose, you are lowering yourself to rise, and that kind of elevation is the kind that never fades.